Looking for Thursday night football game breakdown, expert injury analysis, and best bets? Well, my friends, you've come to the right place. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. What is up, folks? I am your host, the D-Gen Doc, and we've got another banger for Thursday night. Of course, we're going to be going through this game breakdown, talking injuries, expert injury analysis first, and then ending with some actionable information, what I will be on tonight, what my money is already at, how I see this game going down. So let's talk about this matchup. This is a fire matchup. Look, this is a pretty sick, pretty cool ass graphic here. This is a battle for the first place in the NFC East. This is a big deal. Not only playoff implications, seeding. It's getting that time. It's mid-November. Postseason's on everybody's mind. And we've got a 7-3 Washington Commanders team, one of the surprise teams in the NFL, taking against a 7-2 Eagles team that has won 5 in a row. So this is a very intriguing matchup. The records alone, 7-3 versus 7-2. But more importantly, this is division rivalry. Now, I will say, disclaimer right away, if you don't know, if it's your first time or you don't know where my affiliations lie as a fan, because of course I'm a fan. I am a New York Football Giant fan. So look, I don't like either of these teams, all right? So hopefully I won't be too biased one way or the other. But just wanted to give that little disclosure out before we get into it. So let's start with the injuries, as I typically like to do. Really a good game for injury-wise. Really, what we like to see, a lot of the best players are going to be on the field. If anything, the injuries that we need to talk about is on the Commanders side. Washington Commanders kicker Austin Seibert is going to be out again. He was out last week. Zane Gonzalez should be taking over the kicking responsibilities for Washington. And then the big one, the addition at the trade deadline, cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, still dealing with the hamstring injury, has not practiced yet at all, really, since he was with the Saints. Has been dealing with that since week 9. So no Marshawn Lattimore, no Austin Seibert. Obviously, Lattimore's a bit of the loss, but Commanders haven't had him, and they've had an impressive 7-3 record. So really, the biggest other question mark was 3 offensive tackles. The Commanders' top 3 offensive tackles were all questionable. All limited practices all week, with starting left tackle Brendan Coleman, backup left tackle Cornelius Lucas, and starting right tackle Andrew Wiley, dealing with different ailments and things like that. What you need to know. Okay, so I'm sure inactives are going to be coming out here in about 30 minutes or so, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Limited practice, all 3 of them, all 3 days during the week. Good sign. Also a really good sign, we had the practice squad elevations, and there were no offensive lineman practice squad elevations. One would assume if one or more of those guys are going to miss, they're going to have to elevate some guys from the practice squad. No one got elevated. It was, I think it was the kicker and defensive end or something like that. So that tells me all 3 of these guys are likely to go, if not at least 2 of them. So their starting offensive line, which had some question marks coming in on a short week, should be mostly intact for the Washington Commanders. On the flip side, on the Philadelphia Eagles side, we have the return of left tackle Jordan Mailata from his hamstring injury. He had a limited practice, and then he had a full practice to end the week. So they think he's good enough to go. Obviously, there's a little bit of an injury risk. Hamstrings are tough to deal with. Giving him time on the IR to fully focus on rehab, I would have to imagine they believe he's close to 100%. And how often are left tackles really sprinting down the field? So Mailata should be good to go. Also, they kept some guys out, limited practice, no practice early. It's a short week. Guys like Nakobe Dean, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, all those guys are good to go. The Eagles don't have anybody even questionable on their injury report, their final game status. So they're at full health. They're as healthy as they can be. So really, both these teams pretty damn healthy. The biggest thing is that the Commanders won't have their new kind of star in Marshawn Lattimore there. So again, they haven't had him, and they've been 7-3. They also have Brian Robinson Jr. returning to the field. So both the Eagles getting back Mailata at left tackle, and the Commanders getting back their RB1 with a running game that's struggled a little bit since he's been out. I think both of those are obviously huge for how this game is going to go down. Let's talk about how I see this game going down. So, I think this is going to be, first of all, I think we're in for a great matchup. I don't think it's going to be one of those Thursday night clunkers. I think it's going to be very close. Historically, Commanders, how bad as they've been in recent history, they play the Philadelphia Eagles very tough. I'm sure any Eagles fans can attest to that, but they're a tough out, is Washington whenever they play Philly. So, what is up, Axton? Good evening, brother. How are we doing? Obviously, jump in the chat. I know these are quick little 10, 15-minute hitters, but hey, if we want to get the chat popping, we can get the chat popping with Axton. But look, get back to this game. Look, I think it's going to be another tight, close game. The spread has jumped up a little bit. I've been surprised to see it raise. It opened at 3, got to 3.5. Now it's Washington +4 at -108. Philly laying 4 at home at -112. Washington +170 on the money line. Philly -205 the other way. And over-under sitting at 49.5. I do think that there is the potential for some points. Betting on over-unders on Thursday nights are always tricky because even some teams, these primetime matchups, teams that we think should be able to fly, a la the Rams and the Dolphins on Monday night, we thought that was going to be a little bit of a shootout, and that was not the case. So I think it's a close game, which tells you that, look, I'm going to be on Washington +4. I'm also going to be on Washington money line at +170. Okay, so let's take a look here. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. I want to pull up the schedule for your Philadelphia Eagles here. All right, let's see if we can get this on the screen here, if it's not already. There we go. All right, let's get this guy on the screen here. If we can get it up. Uh-oh. All right, well, either way, look, this is what I was going to show you. I was going to show over their schedule here for the Commanders for the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles started the season at 2-2. Then they hit their bye week. They've won 5 games in a row. But let's talk about the games that they've won, right? They played Cleveland, New York Giants, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Dallas Cowboys. 5 teams, all with a losing record. And I mean, it's not even close. Those 5 teams that the Eagles are 5-0 these last 5 weeks are a combined 13-35. They've won 13 games and lost 35 games. They have not played a great stretch. So I understand they look better. But let's be honest, anybody would look better against playing that caliber of teams. So I am not on this fully brought in, the Eagles turned it around, Sirianni and the boys figured it out. No, they've just played shit competition. And I think the Washington Commanders are a step up in class. I've really been impressed with Jaden Daniels. I don't know how you can't be. I've been really impressed with that offensive line. When we talk about, all right, let's talk about the strengths and kind of weaknesses, right? Philadelphia's defense, the secondary has been playing well. I think a little bit untested. They've got some rookies. Quinyon Mitchell has been playing out of his mind. Great. He's picked up some DPIs, but we'll see there. Cooper DeJean's getting into the mix. I still have questions about their safeties. Darius Slay, he seems to pick up an injury every so often. Really one injury to that defensive secondary, and it looks like things seem to fall apart. Their linebackers have been playing well, but I don't think in coverage that they're going to really be able to hold up. The biggest thing, all right, when we talk about the Eagles, we typically think they're front 7. Their interior defensive line specifically, in Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Where's the strength of this Washington Commanders offensive line? The interior offensive line with Tyler Biadasz, Allegretti, and Sam Cosmi. Those are 3 of the best interior offensive linemen. Really, they're playing at an all-pro level. They're playing great football. So I think that's kind of some strength on strength there. So, that defense, they've not been great at generating pressure, specifically off the edge. Talked about how I expect the tackles to be back and healthy playing for the Commanders. So I think they're going to have trouble getting to Jaden Daniels. And we've seen when you give this quarterback time to sit back there and process, he can be extremely accurate with the ball. And he can throw the deep ball or he can dunk and dime and kind of death by 1,000 cuts. So I really do think that the Commanders are going to have success. I am not bought in that Vic Fangio turned it around magically at the bye week. Again, I talked about it. I think it's about the level of competition they've been playing. I mean, you can argue that Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback that they faced, right? I mean, the 2 losses came to Kirk Cousins and to Baker Mayfield. I love what Baker Mayfield is doing this week. Maybe that's the argument you can give me. But outside of that, I mean, look, Joe Burrow, yes, but Joe Burrow without T. Higgins is not the same Joe Burrow. I think everybody can kind of agree to that. That offense is not the same offense when you do not have T. Higgins. So I think the Commanders are going to hang tough, and I ultimately think they're going to get the road victory here. All right, let's talk about the props. Let's talk about outside of what side I'm going to be on, what are the players that I'm targeting here. Both these teams susceptible against the run. Both their pass defense is actually pretty good. Philly only giving up about 173 yards through the air, while Washington's only giving up 182. Or as bad as they were last year, as bad as they started the year, and how everyone thinks like, yeah, they need Marshawn Lattimore, which he will be a plus. 182 through the air in the National Football League is a solid pass defense. So let's not get things misconstrued there. But the rush defense is where we get them into question. Philly giving up about 100 yards, and the Commanders giving up 143 yards on the ground. So obviously, I think Philly will have some success on the ground. Now, on that angle, Saquon Barkley's numbers getting to I think it's over-unders about 95.5. It's close to 100, just at kind of the minus 110. I think Saquon's going to have a good game, but that's tough to lay minus 110 for a guy to get 100 yards. It's not something I want to do. So the way I'm going to attack that is I'm going to go Kenny Gainwell over 20.5 rush and receiving yards. He's a guy who's gotten some carries this past couple of weeks. Maybe Saquon maybe he's just fucking tired from running the ball. He's got to come out a couple plays. Maybe he picks up a little bit of an injury. He was dealing with something in Dallas where he was on the sidelines a little bit there. But he's going to need a breather at some point. I think Kenny Gainwell is going to have a decent matchup here where it only is going to take him maybe 4 or 5 carries and something out of the backfield to hit this number. It's a pretty low number. So he's shown that he can do something out of the backfield and through the air. So I like Gainwell over 20.5 at minus 110. Also, I like Hurts under 225.5 passing yards. The Commanders defense, I've just talked about it. I mean, look, they've been pretty damn solid. Really, the last quarterback they gave this up to was Lamar Jackson, which was their last loss. But outside of that, I mean, in the past 4 games, even when they lost to Russell Wilson, he didn't even eclipse 200 yards. And I think Jalen Hurts, he doesn't need to have a crazy day through the air to be super effective. I mean, we've seen what he's been doing with his legs. What he's trying to do right now is take care of the ball and just kind of facilitate a little bit. Again, I talked about it. I think Saquon Barkley in the running game, whether it's Hurts or Gainwell getting sprinkled in there, I think that's how you attack this Commanders team. I think that's what they're going to do. It's a cold night in November in Philadelphia. I don't think we're going to be seeing the balls getting thrown all around the yard, at least from the Philadelphia Eagles side. So give me Hurts under 225.5 passing yards at minus 115 there. All right, let's go over to the Commander side. I like Brian Robinson. I like Brian Robinson a lot this game. He's coming back. He's fully healthy from his hamstring injury. They've been very conservative with him with that hamstring injury. I think, the goal was always to get him back for this week. I've talked about that interior offensive line playing very well. I understand that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are really good players. However, I think they'll be able to tire them out. These are guys that you have to start worrying about a snap count. How many touches are we going to be getting there? How much they're going to be running around. Commanders like to run a lot of screens, right? Cliff Kingsbury, that's been one of the revelations of this offense. A lot of quick games, screen games. So if you have these big 300-pounders running side to side and then you jam it up the middle with a big back like Brian Robinson, I'm tired just thinking about that. So, look, I like Brian Robinson 50-plus yards at minus 105. I'm laddering him all the way up with sprinkling some units, all the way up to 90-plus yards at 5-1. I also like Zach Ertz. Going back to, one of the better offenses they faced, the Cincinnati Bengals, in this 5-game stretch. Their leading receiver was Mike Gesicki, who went for over 70 yards. I think Ertz, off the, what do we call it, the revenge angle. But I just think that him and Jaden Daniels have developed a good chemistry. He's a nice safety blanket. I still have my concerns with those linebackers. Look, this Philly linebacker group is playing out of their mind in standards compared to Philadelphia and what they've seen in Zach Braun and Nakobe Dean. But they still are a bit of a liability in pass coverage, at least Nakobe Dean. So I like Ertz 40-plus yards at plus 120. Also interested in the ladder there. And then I'm going to go give you a defensive one real quick. Give me Jeremy Chin, safety for the Commanders, over 6.5 tackles at plus 110. He's had 13 total tackles the past 2 games. And I think it's a situation where I just talked about. I think Philly's path to success is running the ball. I think there's going to be a lot of rushing in this game. Cold night in November. And honestly, 2 pass defenses are playing pretty well, right? So I think Jeremy Chin's going to be playing around the line of scrimmage. I think he's going to have an opportunity, whether it's Hurts or Saquon. I think there's going to be tackles to go around. All right, I'm going to do my sprinkles because, I like to get a little bit degenerate. Can't get out of here with that. Well, first, let me, Axton, appreciate the love on the Ertz call. Really, I think if you go Goddard the other way, I would agree there too. A little bit more pro Commanders, obviously, with my side there. But I think Ertz number at 40 sitting there. And I also think A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley may just dominate the target share when we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand the Devonta Smith angle. I know it's his birthday. It seems like everybody and their mother is on Devonta Smith, so it's not something I really want to be jumping at. Again, I'm on Hurts under passing yards. So my 2 anytime touchdown sprinkles. Zach Ertz at plus 265 there, and Jahan Dotson at plus 750. Diving into the revenge angle a little bit. Yes, remember Jahan Dotson was just on this team this season, got traded for a bag of chips. Actually, he got traded for like 4th rounder or something like that, which looking at his numbers, hasn't done a ton. But I do think, the Phillies kind of Sirianni, he's a coach that would play into this revenge angle. I mean, you saw it with Saquon Barkley against the Giants. AJ Brown when he had his return to Tennessee. I could see them drawing something up for Jahan Dotson in the red zone. It's 750. It's plus 750. It's a little bit of a long shot here. If you want to get real DGen and you want to parlay the two, it's 28-1. I'm not gonna, I don't know how I know that, but just throwing that out there, right? If you want to go dive in full revenge angle with Ertz and Dotson to score a touchdown, it is 28-1. But look, that's the DGen. I am on main plays. Washington +4, Washington money line. I like Brian Robinson. I like Zach Ertz. Hurts under. Kenny Gainwell over his rush receiving, and Jeremy Chin over 6.5 tackles at plus 110. All right, my friends, that is it for this episode. We went through the game breakdown. We went through injury analysis, which thankfully not too long today. And I gave out my best bets for Thursday Night Football. I hope if you've enjoyed it, you will like, comment, subscribe, do all the good things. As a new channel, we very much appreciate it. And if you liked it and you want to hear more about me talking about this week, on Friday, aka tomorrow, there will be an episode where I'm giving out my 6 favorite prop bets for NFL Week 11. Been doing it all season long, so you can check that out. Been particularly good on those long shots. So, hey, appreciate the love, folks. We hope you have a wonderful Thursday. And from here at IDP Plus, I'm out of here.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.